Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Build and Breathe. This is a podcast that is meant to really help you improve your professional life as well as your life outside of your professional career.
I'm Cory Silva. I'm a girl dad, founder of a custom software agency, and a former athlete trying to figure out my fitness journey, here to explore the grind, the growth, and the game of building business and life at the same time.
And my name is Nik Andrews, also an entrepreneur, fitness expert that is published both in radio and TV, and an actor. I am currently building the most comprehensive and value-packed corporate wellness product on the market. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to Build and Breathe. So, Cory, our first segment, optimize a trend. This is where we discuss a wellness trend that has been talked about by everybody, from the water cooler into the chats, and we take it, strip it down, and turn it into tangible, practical ways to actually implement it into your life.
I love this. Could be both like debunking trends or how we can make it work for ourselves. So the first one that we are going to talk about today is a really exciting one because it kind of meshes with I feel like especially for everyone's world, but also like my world specifically because I am in AI tech a lot, almost every day. So the question that we want to kind of ask ourselves and ask the audience is, should I use AI as a fitness coach? Now, this is interesting because if you probably have gone to ChatGPT or Gemini and you've started asking it questions, like maybe very simply about what should I cook? What is a meal plan? Which workout should I do? I personally have had experience doing this, but specifically as a running coach. I haven't used it as like a full fitness coach. I've used it as a running coach. And I've actually been doing it as an experiment to compare because last year I had an actual running coach for training for my half marathon. And I did very well for my first half marathon.
That's awesome.
So the results were really good. I now have been using ChatGPT as my full marathon coach. And I'm going to compare my results in my half marathon versus my full marathon and see did I feel prepared enough during this? So my full marathon is in a few weeks. So I will find out in a few weeks. So I would say maybe in 3 episodes from now, we can talk about it again, about those results.
Yeah, we definitely need to revisit that one.
Yeah. So I think overall it's been pretty good using AI as a coach. And I know we were saying fitness coach, but this one's a very specific type of fitness coach. I think it's been pretty good, but I would still say that the problem I see with this is that most AI models are still very much in agreement with you. So if you say, oh, you know what, I'm kind of tired today, I don't really want to do it, it's going to be like, yeah, you know what, you're right, you probably shouldn't, you should probably relax and stuff. Where maybe an actual coach would be like, hey, you know what, I know you're tired, you maybe don't want to do it, but you should do this instead or something like that.
Yeah, I think I would like to kind of preface this with different tiers of difficulty, right? So let's take a more macro approach. If you're a professional athlete, there's going to be things and nuances that AI will just not be able to read and spit out to you. I think AI is a great tool under 2 conditions. One, if you're the median of an operator. So you want to run a marathon, but you don't want to be the fastest marathon runner. So you're not optimizing for the top athletes, right? Which I would argue most people can fit in. Here's the biggest problem with AI, and this goes across any spectrum. You need to ask the right questions. And I think the struggle and the ongoing and continuous growing struggle in humanity, I think, is going to be the fact that we lose the skill to ask the right questions. In wellness, I don't know that that's ever existed. People ask I don't know, how do I lose weight? When they should have asked, how do I lose fat and gain muscle? That just wouldn't be inherently the question that they ask, right? And so I feel like when you ask, it's like going to the mechanic and you ask a question and they look at you like you have 3 heads. Because you don't understand cars nearly on the same level as them. And they're thinking, why are you assuming that you know something about just let me do my job, right? Yep. I think that's the challenge with ChatGPT. And I think that perhaps, and what I've seen myself is people really oversimplify wellness. There's a problem with overcomplicating it, but there is a problem with oversimplifying it. So The example I used before, I'll use it again, is like, I want to lose weight. Okay, so you are going to starve yourself. Well, that's an oversimplification, right? Yes, we know that if we stop eating, you're going to lose weight.
Yes.
Are you going to optimize your body in any way? Are you going to wreck other things? Absolutely, in the
Mm,
process. But you didn't factor that in, right?
yeah,
So, yeah, I think it's similar to coding with AI, where you have to prompt it with the correct prompts. Otherwise, it's going to spit you out garbage that it thinks
absolutely.
is right.
Absolutely. Do you find so like you've been coaching people in like fitness and wellness for a long time now. Do you find that since AI has kind of risen up over the last couple years, have your clients started to use it outside of like your own touch bases or workouts? And like, have they been like, hey, so I asked it this, what do you think? Or I think we should do this because ChatGPT said it. Have you been getting some of that?
They'll sometimes fact check me. So sometimes they'll like, once they've done the program a couple of times or whatever, they'll ask a more specific question and it'll spit out suggestions, and they come back to me, and the next time we do a check-in, they're like, "Hey, so I asked ChatGPT and like it said pretty much what you've been saying. That's kind of cool." I was like, "Yeah, that means I'm doing my job correctly, right?" Like, obviously there's new, so then they'll ask me about certain things, like, it suggested this, why don't we do that? And I will usually have an answer for it. It's nothing innovative. It never spits out anything innovative, to me at least.
Right.
I just probably have a reason why I didn't follow a certain thing that ChatGPT suggested, and then the argument could be made, it was ChatGPT's suggestion better? And I would argue that from my experiences, no. Like, I made a judgment call that is not programmatically optimal, but it will be optimal for that individual in this certain case basis. And that's, I think, where AI just is always going to struggle, right? Again, median, right? But then any kind of nuance or outlying factor,
Yep.
you don't even know how to describe. It takes me to observe that from you in a check-in basis or whatever, in a conversation, right? And then that's where my solution develops. But if I'm not there to spot that nuance, we're often blind to our nuances, right? Our outlying factors. And I think that's where the gap is and will always be.
I think so too. I mean, the thing you kind of mentioned, it's like not only do you need to ask it the right questions, right? But what you're alluding to here is like it lacks the context and the nuance context that maybe it would maybe offer a better answer if it knew some of those nuances, right? But the unfortunate thing is most people using it, they just go into a chat, they start asking it questions. Those questions may be good, they may be bad. It also has no context about who you are, what you do. So I would say if you are going to try to use AI as a fitness coach or some sort of coach or something like that, let's say fitness, literally use the voice mode and talk to it for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Have a call with it literally about who you are, about what you do, give it some history about you, cuz even if you are going to use it, you want to at least get some better answers. So give it as much context as it possibly can. So that's where I would say, like, if you're going to use it, like you mentioned, median, like average, most people, I think it's great, but still give it context because it won't know. Because, like you said, you sometimes make decisions that maybe isn't optimal in that moment, or like maybe optimal in general, looking from the outside in. But that's what it is. It's looking from the outside in. You're in. You can see the nuances. You made that choice for a reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the last thing that I would, let's see, like, let me play devil's advocate and let me argue for, right? I think that if you were going to proceed with using AI as a coach, you have to be super honest with what you are achieving and where you are coming short. So
Mm,
I think a lot of my conversations and check-ins, and like within the wellness space, the corporate wellness product that I'm designing, right? There's a huge check-in feature. And the reason that exists is for people to simply understand what worked and what didn't, and to bounce off of what didn't work, and how to adapt from that, right? A lot of times within when I do personal clients and there's personal check-ins, a lot of people hate the fact that they came up short, and they
mm,
are like traumatized, and they automatically would be like, no, 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 I'm going to do better. I'm going to achieve this. And like, I often have to argue with them. I was like, let's dial down the minimums. Let's bring it down to where you can achieve it. And they're like, no, 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 I can do it. I can do it. There's so much pushback. And then
Yeah.
week 2, I'm like, okay, fine. Let's try for another week. And it doesn't
Right.
work. And they're like, no, 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 I can do it. I promise. Like this project just passed by at work. Now I'm free. Condition change.
Right.
And then it doesn't happen again. And then usually by the third time, I put my foot down. I was like, okay, you have promised, you have tried, we've tried your way. Now let's do it my way.
Yep.
Right. And I think that conversation again, it can only happen if you're being brutally honest while using AI as a tool.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I want to say most people probably won't be when it comes to their health or their fitness.
I think we lie to ourselves a lot.
Yeah, so I don't think they're gonna tell. Maybe, oh, geez, I don't know. Like, maybe they are telling ChatGPT their dark secrets and being very truthful. But I feel like most people aren't. Yeah, and if you're not, then like you said, you're not gonna get good results from it, and it's gonna be poor. So, yeah, but I am excited to come back to this, at least from a running coach perspective, to see if there's anything there because
Report back. Yeah.
so actually, this is a challenge for everyone. Maybe go try a real coach first. Get a real fitness coach first. Try it for a bit, and then run in parallel or like completely or afterwards using AI as a coach, knowing what you know and what you learned to see if you can get the same results, or if you feel like, dang, you know what, like an actual coach was better.
Mm.
What you might find is that like an actual coach is probably generally better. That's my hypothesis right now, for my opinion, because I can already feel myself, like my body preparing for this full marathon doesn't feel as prepared as my half marathon. And I've actually questioned my AI coach and I've told it, I was like, hey, I feel like I'm not doing enough mileage. I feel like maybe I'm missing some aspects of training. Like, we're doing a lot of long distance running. I feel like I need to work on like my aerobic endurance and be able to do short distances as well too on a quicker pace. Like, what do you think? It's like, nope, we're right on track. We're feeling good. I'm like, well, you don't know how I feel. I'm telling you right now, right? So my hypothesis is that an actual coach has actually served me better than an AI coach, but we'll report back in a few weeks and we'll see.
Yeah, that's a really, really, really interesting takeaway. I think just to clarify though, don't run both an AI coach and a fitness, a personal coach at the same time. You're going to drive the human nuts.
Nuts. Yes. Sorry. Do one and
Do
then
one.
do the other.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't run
And
an
give
A/B
yourself
test.
due time.
Yeah.
Do like an 8 week or a 12. This is going to be a long project, but an 8 week to a 12 week kind of run through with an AI, and then 8 to 12 with a human. That's sufficient. 2 weeks is not enough for you to see results on either end. You're just going to be mad at both.
No. So everyone out there, Q4 real coach, Q1 AI coach. That's your test.
The one. Yeah. Let's talk about fiscal quarters. Yeah.
Cool.
Love it.
So I will then. You've kind of gone with against it, devil's advocate for it. Overall, should you use AI as a fitness coach? What would your final verdict be here?
I think for very specific and simplified asks, go for it. It can offer you some beginning guidance. I think for anything more complex and long term, seek out consultation from a live person.
Cool. I feel like I agree with that, and I would just say if you're going to use it, if you're an average person, average build, average fitness, health, all that stuff, I think you could probably find some value out of just using it, period, at least to get you started. And if you are, ask it the right questions. If you don't know the right questions to ask, literally ask it that, and then also have a call, like a 10-minute intake call with ChatGPT Gemini to get the best answers possible. Because if you're going to use it, at least use it right. Don't be dumb about it. But I think overall, should you? Maybe. And I think we'll have some definitive answers after my own experiment and maybe all of your experiments as well, too. We would love to hear how that
went. Keep us posted. Let us know. So our next segment is called Fluffy to Buffy, and this is a very personalized segment for Cory. Our hope is that you, the listener, can take away some learnings from Cory being a case example, as someone that is on their fitness journey. Now, Cory's been working out for years, so he's not a novice by any means necessary, but we are using him as a case example where we implement certain protocols for him to really change his body composition and really to improve and take him to the next level. And we're sharing that entire process with you. Cory and I have exchanged information and some help, but I've never handheld him through something. So this is kind of a first example, and we're starting from scratch. And so we're taking you along for the journey. Cory, do you want to put in some 2 cents or?
Yeah, I do. I mean, people might be asking, why are we calling this Fluffy to Buffy? This was a
Oh,
name that
yes.
I came to Nik with as like my own personal project. I was like, hey, I want some help to basically improve my fitness and my wellness because, like Nik said, like I've been working out a long time, but I always feel that when I look at myself, I'm like, I just have this like now I can say it, this like dad bod sheen to me, where it's like I look athletic, but there's just a little bit of fluffiness to there, right? And so my goal is like, what if I want to go from fluffy to Buffy, right? My goal is that like I could take off my shirt and I feel just amazing in my body. So that's like that was the kind of the premise, the reason why I wanted to call this Fluffy to Buffy. Make some comedy out of it, make a little bit of lightness out of it, but also it's like it's very real. The from the beginning of where I am now to where I want to be, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important to maybe note that like Cory and I have known each other since high school, and he was shredded in high school. So he has been in peak condition before,
Yeah.
and like many of you that are probably listening, right? Life changes, career choices, less mobility, working in front of a laptop, and all those things factor in. And
Yeah.
so really what we're dealing with is a lifestyle that is most likely mirrored to a lot of people listening, where you're an intellectual employee, you're working in an office space or at home on a laptop all the time. And yeah, what we're taking Cory through is really, this is a 30-year-old dad that works in a corporate-esque setting. He's an entrepreneur, but he works in a corporate-esque setting where it's office work most of the time, and we are just going to manipulate his body to change, right? And take you along for the ride. Full
Heck yeah, man.
transparency.
Heck yeah, that's the way it's
Yeah.
gonna be. Like, yeah, I used to be so ripped when I was in high school because I was an athlete, right? I played hockey, played football, played all these sports, and that helped with, you know, my body the way I looked. But then, yeah, life happens. Like, just to give people a little bit of context of like how I've actually my body's changed over the years. Like, I was probably 150, pretty shredded as like a high school person. University, I went up to like 180. I gained like 30 pounds in a summer. Became kind of like fluffy, but like mostly got my mass, the muscle mass you see now during that period. But then I stopped playing sports during university. Like I played some intramural, but I stopped playing sports just in general. And since then, as I kind of was in my corporate career before starting my business, I basically fluctuated all the way from like 210 pounds to
Hmm.
160 pounds. It's been such a crazy ride of like gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight. I would say most years in the past 2 years now, I've mostly just stayed stable at like 190. That's kind of like
Yeah.
been my goal. But like life changes, circumstances change, right? And things happen, you know? You get complacent, you start gaining some weight, you make excuses for work, you stop working out, you stop eating well, and then I don't know, you want to change your mind so you do a little bit better, and
Yeah.
then things get worse again. Bunch of things could happen. I went through heartbreak that like made me lose a ton of weight really quickly, and then I
Right.
started like on this journey of like building my own business and bettering myself, and I got myself up to a great spot, which where I am now. So that's kind of some context on
That's good context. Yeah. And for people listening, you're like, what's your height? 5'10", 5'11"? Where are you at?
5'11. Yeah.
Yeah. So 5'11", 190. Cory's probably got anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds that he could probably shed to look pretty good. Like he said before, he is fairly athletic looking. He's just got a lot of fluff kind of on top of that. So,
Yep.
fortunately for us, we are not too concerned with building muscle mass at the moment, which A lot of people that is their primary concern at first. They don't have enough muscle mass to do what we're going to do with you, where it's going to be a lot about output manipulation and input manipulation, meaning dieting and the way we approach diet. So do take this with a grain of salt for everybody listening, that not Cory's approach is not going to be your approach, but hopefully you take away from some of the things. I think what's important to establish now, I'm going to just kind of take the helm here, Cory.
Yeah, man.
And kind of walk you through. So the first thing that I always establish with people is setting minimums. And I think I briefly talked about that somewhere in the first segment, maybe. But establishing minimums simply means that when life absolutely rocks you, what are the non-negotiables that are going to stay in place, right? For me, and for I think for most people, honestly, I think 3 days, 3 workouts is a pretty good anchor piece where when all goes to hell, you can maintain with 3 a week. Depending on where you are in your journey, you may not be able to progress with 3. It just may not be enough. But if you're a novice, any added activity is going to help you. If I was to ask you a question of how many days a week you lift right now, what would the answer be, Cory?
Okay. Circumstance as well too. I'm training
Yes.
for a marathon. So right
Yes.
now I'll tell you what my current thing is. I'll tell you what it was prior to me training for my marathon, and we'll probably have to adjust from there. So right now I run 4 times a week.
Okay.
I will do that until October 26th when my marathon is. I what's it called, play hockey twice a week. And right now I'm working out twice a week, like strength training. So that is currently my setup. So what you'll notice is that we have more than 7 days worth there.
Yes.
So I double up on my hockey days as also days that I strength train. One of them, one free day is basically just a strength training day, but I have no rest days right now. 7 days a week.
7 days a week. Okay, so just again for you, Cory, and for the listeners, my flag here and my first question is: are you overworking your nervous system? So anyone that this happens a lot with, like ladies that love spin, really any fitness class people that where they love the community and love the thrill of the class, right? This could also be in sports. There's a reason why athletes don't play 7 games a week, right? It's because
Yeah.
they would break.
Yeah.
And not just from actual muscularity or tendon, but like nervous system. You got to think about hormonal stuff. And when you're talking about getting lean, it does become a conversation of like, what is your stress level like? Now, if you mix, another thing that we need to take into consideration is the more stressful your work is, the less stress you have room for in your workouts. Let's talk about high stress, low stress. So overall, high stress activities are anything that is a long form cardiovascular exercise. That will be your spin, that will be your running, that will be your hockey, that will be your basketball, things like that. The things that last an hour and a half, it is a lot of output.
Cool.
Things that are low stress on the nervous system is heavy lifting, incline walking, Stairmaster, yoga. So things that raise your heart rate but are manageable or have peaks and valleys. And then there's stuff that's in between. So HIIT workouts are kind of considered in between because there's still a stimulus of lifting something heavy. There is a cardiovascular aspect of it, but it sort of ebbs and flows between the two states. So why is this important? Because Cory said that he's training for a marathon. So now the tricky thing for us is we have to keep his performance up for the marathon while simultaneously reducing his stress where we can to try to get his body to regulate a little bit and to drop fat cells, at least for a few weeks, and then we can change out of it, right? So when we are highly stressed, our bodies tend to hold on to fat and water because we're in survival mode. So our bodies think, oh my God, are we going to dehydrate? Oh my God, are we going to starve? So it tries to hold on to fluids and it tries to hold on to food, stored energy. But we need to trick your body to think that it doesn't. So my first question and recommendation, and really my challenge is, can we cut hockey for the next 3 weeks? Is that at all a possibility?
I could probably cut it down to one game per week. I would love to play at least one per week
Okay.
because I pay for it.
Yeah.
So there's a monetary incentive for me to do it, but I can definitely
Okay.
do because I play in two different leagues, two different teams, and so I
Yeah.
can one week, one the other, one the fellow
Okay.
week, so I can kind of swap in between. But yeah,
I
one
think I think 2 a week is great when you're not training for a marathon.
my
I
body
think
agrees with you.
I think if you slice it down to one, I think that would give us a lot more room to play.
Okay, 1 2 week till post marathon. Okay,
Yes. Instead of that one a week, I would like to raise your lifting to, we can keep at least twice a week. If we can push to three, amazing. But the lifting, and for those listening, this is going to be the learning here, because Cory has so much cardio from the marathon running, his lifting is going to be low intensity, long rests, and heavy. So the intensity is going to be for a select set, and then he's going to chill out until this marathon is done and until his legs are back to normal and his nervous system can recoup a little bit. The game plan is going to be to keep him calm throughout the other times. The rest is going to be a little bit of us tuning in to diet. So again, for those listening, we're recording this on October 3rd. So we have 3 weeks basically until his marathon's done. Within those 3 weeks, I think we're going to build some food habits. We're going to make sure that we're tracking the right way. We're going to figure out again minimums with regards to that. And then after the marathon is done, we're really going to cement this and rebuild this into something that is more sustainable and long term. I think right now your primary goal should be that marathon, and things should not be overly sacrificed until after that marathon is done. I think marathon progression and performance is your primary goal right now. So, how are we going to do this, Cory? So, I train people on an app. It's software called Everfit. I'm going to send you a link to that. You are going to sign up for that, and we will probably try to showcase that app at some point because we'll start talking about measuring things and manipulating progress and so on and so forth with regards to movements. But we'll
yeah,
worry about that later. So for this week, the primary thing is to reduce stress through the hockey. That's going to be the goal for this week. And then we're going to implement 3 lifting days per week that are heavier, lower stress. We're going to try to reduce your cortisol levels in order to just regulate that aspect. From a nutrition standpoint, we're going to start off right away with a protein minimum. So the only thing you are going to track, and you're going to use MyFitnessPal, which is for those of you listening that don't know it, it's an app that's been around for like over a decade. It's owned by Under Armour now. It's got probably the biggest, if not the biggest, food diary. You can find anything from a Mars bar to a Krispy Kreme donut to raw chicken.
like a grocery store like
Yeah,
pre-made chicken thing, like literally anything. It's crazy.
yeah, any brand you type in and you'll probably find the product to it and you can track everything. So for Cory, the goal is not about calories this week. The goal is not about carbs. The goal is not about fats. The only goal I have for Cory is protein, and I will ask him to aim for 180 grams of protein. That will change. But for now, I just want to see if you are coming up short with your consumption of protein at all, and I want to keep you accountable to that.
I feel
That's
like the
it.
answer is yes.
Honestly, most of the time, it is that way for everybody. And even I have one client who he's 56, I believe. We got him shredded. He had other problems too. He had sciatica. He had issues with his back would spasm and stuff. We've gotten rid of the back thing. He has like an occasional flare up that lasts like a day, two
Okay.
max, and then
Yeah.
he's good. But he's got squat depth. He's got mobility. He's lean as can be. Very, very healthy, hella strong. Anyway, the reason I bring it up is his diet, what loves to cook at home. He's very creative with his foods and stuff. His food was almost bulletproof. And most people that I've met are not like that. He did eat a lot of protein, but even he fell short of his requirements. He's a slightly taller guy than you and me. So there was still things that were short even with him. And he is the only example that I've come across the entire time that I've done this where I was like, wow, that was not bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even still there was a little bit of room for improvement. So yeah, it's always good to check in on that.
Cool. I'm pumped. This will be good.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions for you. Yeah, I think I'm good to track. I'm good to bring hockey down to 1, good to bring training up to 3. I'm used, like, these minimums are easy for me even afterwards. Like, I've literally been doing almost 6, 7 days a week of some sort of activity or training, like,
Yeah,
for almost a year straight now. So
right.
maybe
I
more.
know you've been really regular. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think
yeah,
it's just optimizing for you, honestly. I think it's just figuring out what might be creating a worse condition rather than
yeah,
a better condition is the key here.
100%. Yeah.
And sometimes less is more. And I think for you it is, but again, with your side goal of marathon, it changes things a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, once we're past that, I think it will be good. And
Yeah.
I will we'll get back to also to having protein shakes too, because that's also a big thing that, like, when you say lack of protein, like, I always struggled getting it straight from food 100%. Like,
Mm,
always. Like, if I had like 5 meals a day, including 3 square ones and 2 smaller ones with all protein in them, like, I still struggled to hit my protein goals with food. The only times I ever hit these levels of protein was actually having a protein shake at least one per day.
mm.
So, and it's not something I've had for a while because, like, truthfully, for everyone, like, I'm going to be honest, super honest in this podcast as well, is that, like, money has been an issue for quite a long as I was building my business. Every penny I had went into the business, and it just meant that I had a lot less for myself personally, right?
Yeah,
So, but
totally.
now that has changed a little bit over the last couple months, and so I can again go ahead and, like, purchase some, like, protein powder to help with some of this
Well,
intake,
let's
right? So,
let's let's address that. I think this is a fair thing to like let's not skip over this. I think there's two tangible concerns here, right? One is I can't consume enough. How do I do it? So there's there's two ways to do it. Most everybody that is in the middle range of like body composition, if you have 3 meals averaging 50 grams a meal of protein, that's of nutrient, not of the total weight. So it's not 50 grams of chicken. It is going to be about 300 grams of chicken or about 8 ounces or so. But if you have 3 servings of 50 grams each, you're at 150, and that already does it. Now, a lot of people aren't hungry in the morning. And if you are one of those people, then, and that happens to me too. So, I am not an exception here. I will sometimes have a little protein bar in the morning that's like 15 grams, and sometimes I'll just skip it. I'm just aware of it.
yeah,
But then I am essentially left with two giant meals in the day. I have a lunch and I have a dinner. During my lunch, I will, but in both of those cases, I will prioritize protein over everything, which means that my actual protein size is substantial. Now, to talk about the cost of it, don't discount the fact that you can bring up your protein consumption with sides. So if you throw in some chickpeas into your rice, that brings in another 10 grams. Beans, any kind of beans, will throw in another 10 grams. You could have a pita on the side, and you can buy a protein pita that could be another 10 grams. You could have Greek yogurt instead of sour cream as a dry. You can make a homemade tzatziki where you can bring in another 10 grams of protein from the tzatziki dip, and you can
right.
eat that entire dip, right?
Yeah.
So try to think of other ways of implementing the protein into the meal. Um, as far as the cost dollar average situation, I find that the bells and whistles of nutrition and food is the more costly stuff. So all the canned stuff, the box stuff, that's where the cost really, really drives up. And this includes a protein powder too, in effect. I do think protein powder, like gram for gram, is quite cheap as far as like, it will cost you the same amount as a can of tuna, and tuna is one of the cheapest ways to get protein in, right? So the challenge honestly becomes to me is like, I'm hungry, a protein shake won't satiate me, and I'm on a budget. Then you are discussing forms such as the chicken breast, the tuna. And with tuna, a great way to like mix up and make it a little bit juicier is like a little bit of mayo, a little bit of corn. It makes like a sweet, sort of creamy salad, way more digestible and way tastier. You can season it however way you like. That's a good way to do it. Yogurt, like I said, Greek yogurt packs a lot, and generally speaking, the zero fat ones are not too expensive to get as well. And again, they'll satiate you. What else? And chickpeas, beans, lentils, buckwheat. So buckwheat costs just as much as rice, but it carries about 3 times as much protein. So
Really?
if you are concerned, yeah, oh yeah, buckwheat is a superfood, man. Eastern Europeans had it figured out for a long time.
Let's go.
But it's the same as quinoa, but quinoa got so popular and then they started raising the prices on it. Buckwheat is less popular, but it carries the same density of nutrients as quinoa. So, different texture, obviously. So maybe you don't like it or whatever. But, the way Eastern Europeans cook it is they boil it and then they put some butter into it. And when the butter is in, it is just creamy and good, and it's warm. It's nice. It's nice porridge.
I will give that a try. I don't think I've ever had it, so I will
Yeah.
give that a try.
So yeah,
Cool.
don't think it's just steaks, I guess is the main takeaway
Oh.
in this law and speech. It's not just steaks in terms of like dollar cost averages, right? You can figure out how to get more affordable options in there if that is your concern.
Cool. Last two things I will say is that I always eat a breakfast. My breakfast and my dinners are usually my biggest meals. My lunch is generally my smallest meal, but I always have a breakfast every single day. In terms of tracking, you only want me to track protein in my meals
Just
and
protein.
nothing else? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Don't
Cool.
worry about anything else yet.
Other than that, I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. We got our tangible things. Let's carry on.
Let's carry on. All right, our next segment here is a fun one. It's called Touch Grass. And this is an interesting one because we have we have a different perspective of when people say touch grass. And we're not saying like, when people say touch grass, people are like, oh, go out into nature, kind of like Nik's background here, be around greenery and all that sort of jazz.
My literal background. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, my background, my history? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your physical background. Touch grass for us here is about us basically grounding ourselves and talking about our week as like entrepreneurs, just, as men as well too, and just working adults, and some of the wins, the challenges that we have gone through in the week, and maybe things where we feel like we need to kind of ground ourselves and touch grass essentially. So that is our definition of touch grass. And then also that was actually Nik's definition of touch grass that he shared with me. And we just love it that we're calling it for this segment.
All right. So I'll give you a win and a failure. So I'll start with the failure actually, because I think maybe that's more relatable. So I have been on this journey of building out this corporate wellness product, like I said to you, and I mentioned in my intro. I have recently done a SiriusXM podcast that came out, and my whole plan was to deploy a whole content strategy on LinkedIn and to schedule those things. That should have come out 2 days ago, and I am currently sitting at 3 days delayed. Life happened. I had a bunch of auditions. I had car trouble this week, so on and so forth. And it's been slid to the back. And a lot of my challenges right now, honestly, is time management. I find that I have my hand in so many hats, so to speak, or I'm wearing so many hats that a lot of times things will come up and I just have to prioritize that thing because there's a deadline that comes in quick, right? I have my folks coming into town this weekend, and I was supposed to take them to Santa Monica Pier tomorrow, and I got a call back in person. So I have to figure out how to drop them off, drive to the callback, pick them up, and then continue on with touring the city. So just things like that. So anyway, all this to say that I didn't hit my deadline, and I need to figure out how to hit those deadlines better. And the weekend would usually be my time to catch up, but my parents are in town, so I won't have that time. And the time that I did have is now taken up by the callback. So I will have to make up that time next week. And one thing, and this is the win, that I really loved that I reverse engineered and I want to kind of share it with people is that I moved to LA 10 months ago for anybody listening. And if you move to a new city, I moved to a new country too. I moved from Canada to the US. So everything was rebuilt from scratch. Business, the survival job where I coach people, I teach classes and stuff like that. I have my online business, which I carried over. That's fine. And film, I had to rebuild as well. So from when I moved here, the goal was to pick up as many classes as possible to teach so that I would have just some oxygen financially speaking to survive, to have the ability to build the other things on the side. And we've now settled into the point where where I can start making a few strategic changes. So up until this point, my Monday started at 5:30 in the morning, and I would teach a class in Beverly Hills at 6:30, which would be like a 20-minute commute. I'd have to get there early. I'd have to get there at 6 a.m. And what I found, and then my day would start, and then it would just kind of continue on and ramble on. What I found was that, and this was a frustration point for me, I was not starting the week with the intentions and the goals that I needed to actually keep in mind to anchor my week. Quite literally, very much quite literally, the first thing that I would do is wake up and run to teach this class, which was not actually my priority, or at least it is not anymore. So what I did this week was I actually dropped that class. And instead, now I have a window of space until 9:30 a.m. And this window of space now is dedicated towards my planning and my implementation. And at the very least, my journaling, as far as like agenda work and stuff like that, of things for my business. And I really think that is going to be a game changer because at least now mentally, I am starting my week with a to-do list that I can further execute as we move forward throughout the day.
Nice. I love that, man. Before I go into mine, like I want to kind of comment a little bit on it as well too. Prioritizing your day has been something that's been such a huge win for myself as well. Like it takes time to get there, and when you can finally do it, like you said, it just feels so much better. But I have set up my day now where my mornings essentially I get the two main things done before I even start work is like spend time with my family, take care of my health. So those are two important pillars in my life that I need to take care of first before I can have energy for the third, which is work.
Mm.
So my morning is literally like, that's when I work out. That's when I go for my runs. That's when I go for a walk with my dog. That's when I spend time with like my daughter. That's the time. And I get all those things done first, and then I do work. Because if I don't have those things done, then I won't have the energy for the work. So be able to have space in your day, like you said, you were kind of in a transition period of like you needed to have this influx, right? Of like survival work essentially to keep your life going. So I'm happy to hear that you kind of have some space for planning out your day, planning out your week, your business, like all that stuff. So that's fantastic. Sweet, man. Okay, for me, since we started with challenges and failures first, I'll start with that too. So I would say one of the biggest skill struggles that I've had over the last year or so has been in the skill of sales. I have struggled with that as been building my business, and every so often, losing a deal just sucks. And that has happened where we lost pretty much like a 6-figure deal, and it really, 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 really sucks. And it's just you put so much time and effort into it.
How long? I was just going to say, how long were you working on that for? Because usually pipelines are longer.
Few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few months. And it's one of those ones where if anyone's in sales or, running your own business, you'll feel this is that
gut punch.
Yeah, you work hard, you build this relationship, you kind of do what they're asking, you build out proposals or whatever it might be. And even they might agree that they want to move forward. But the moment that they need to put money down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things pop up and things change, right? So
for sure.
That has been a struggle, but I have this mantra where no lead is a dead lead. That is my mantra. And so even though this one has gone a bit south, I am still going to keep that relationship because the one thing I've learned is that sometimes even if they say no right now, doesn't mean it's no forever. So it sucked, but we move on. There's other projects, there's other people, abundance mindset, right? You don't need them. They were just another thing in another set of people to work with, but there's other people there that you can work with as well.
So. Yeah, I think that's That's incredible, Corey. And I think the other thing I want to add on to that is it's not just a no for now. It may just be a no for them, but it might be a yes for their friend. And
Yes.
something that has happened to me, and I'll give you some like an anecdote from film. I I audition all the time, but a lot of most times you don't get the role. Like 99% of the time you don't get the role. So you get used to just, I guess, being rejected. They really just don't get back to you. It's not really a rejection. It's that you put they request a tape, you send out the tape, and you don't hear back, or you do and you carry on. And I had this incredible experience. I was a guest star on a TV show in September, as you know, and I got to meet the executive producer on that show on set. I auditioned for this show about three or four times before I got the role that I got, including the lead for the show. So I auditioned for the lead, didn't hear anything back. Then I was offered a smaller role. It's called a pin where they hold your calendar, and then they released it. It just went away, just poof into thin air. And I thought that was like a near promise. Then they asked me to audition for another role, and I did the audition. Didn't hear back about that. And then they gave me a straight offer for the role that I got, which was like a very substantial and a large role. And I got to talk to him about that, and he gave me the behind the scenes of what was happening. So
Okay.
throughout that entire journey, there was a whole discussion of my name getting tossed around the office back and forth. So I made a good impression with the first one with the lead. It didn't work out. It just didn't match and whatever, right? And then they offered me the small one. They were in the process of offering me the small one. And it came down to the wire, and they all got together in a meeting and said, "We think Nik should have something with more meat on the bones." Like they wanted a bigger role for me. And they're like, they all agreed that we're not sure what that is, but we don't want to burn him with this one. So they pulled it back. To me, that was just a straight up rejection. I just got thrown out the window with like dirty bathwater, right? And then the third one came along, which again was not the right role for me. But at the same time, adjacent to that, they were casting another one, and I guess they saw it. And in hindsight, I know what the role that I auditioned for last was, and I know the role that I got, obviously. And the one that I got was a far more emotionally deep role. And that's a compliment to me because you trusted me with something very difficult to do through none of my real direct involvement. Like I just built the rapport from, we're talking like 7 months. So it was 7 months of pipeline, dead silence, and then boom, here you go. So all this to say, I don't believe that a rejection is a no for now. Even it can be a no for now, but it could also be just a yes for something else adjacent to.
So and that's why like you never, never burn bridges just because you get a rejection. But yeah, you're right. Like it might be a no for now, but also might be a yes for something else, right?
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
a really, really important distinction. So I think that's kind of the mentality I had because this happened to me months and months ago as well too, and I did not take it well. Like I was I felt so defeated, right? Like so
Mm.
defeated that I just like to me that was like forever a dead lead, and didn't even worry about it. Whereas now, I you take it in stride, right? And it doesn't hit you as much. I think that's part of like the resiliency band of being able to bounce back faster to your baseline. That's just it's a failure, I guess, more of a challenge, but never completely. So that was my challenge for the week. My win for the week. So I mean, really positive thing is that we just brought on our fifth person onto the team, which is really really
Congrats.
cool. Yeah, so that's just been really exciting. We've had two people start in the last 2 weeks, and on top of my two business partners, Jade and Scott, then we have these two new guys, Jason and Nick, and they've
Great
just
name.
been great name, yeah. They've just been fantastic. So it's been really cool to actually start growing a team because one of the things I really enjoy is leadership, and that's the one thing actually I've been missing out of running my own business. Is like when you have
Mm.
business partners, you guys are all at the same level, and so there isn't really a leadership aspect. But when you start hiring people that are like now on your team, like you turned on that leadership kind of
Hat.
mindset again. Yeah, the
Yeah,
hat.
yeah.
And so it's been nice to do that again because I haven't done it since like my corporate days. So yeah, that's kind of been my win, is like being able to bring on another person onto the team, which has been really fun.
That's exciting. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I'm sure you're a better leader for it. I was gonna say on the rejection note, it's a call to be better, right? So if it's a no for now, you move on, and as long as you can move on, you're probably gonna make improvements so that when that conversation circles back, you're better. And similar to you with your situation as a leader, you were in a leader position in corporate, and then you shifted away into entrepreneurship, and you became granular. You had to be the everything man. You had to do everything. And so you learn all of the little ins and outs and the concerns that all of the quote unquote grunt workers do, which comes with appreciation and understanding and probably a more tangible way to lead those positions as well. So now circling back to leadership, I imagine your asks, your questions, your concerns, and your requests are probably a lot better and more digestible for your workers, and they appreciate that.
Yeah, I think I would hope so for sure. And like I think maybe that sense and that reflection might come a few more weeks and maybe months even down the line of them being on the team growing a bit more. But I would hope so, because yeah, I've had to, be in the weeds quite a lot, right? So I think now actually might be the struggle for some leaders is now like how do you separate yourself from that to let your team just shine, right? That's the tricky part, is like
letting go.
Been in the weeds, letting go, right? So that's a tough one. And so I mean, I have experience in doing it before of like just delegating, but it's at a different, we're at different extremes now. Before I was like a leader of a very specific thing. We had other people doing other stuff. We didn't have to worry about it. Now I became someone had to worry about everything, and the band in which I need to now delegate is much, much bigger, right? So it's a bigger separation. So that will be an interesting challenge that I always like to keep myself prepared for. But
that's going to be a great conversation topic in later episodes as well.
I think so.
I think this is going to be probably one of my favorite sections for sure, where we just talk and discuss what worked and what didn't, and what broke and what didn't.
It'll be good. I think also probably one of the most relatable sections as well.
It's just so honest. Yeah, it's just so honest. Like, I was shit at this.
Yep.
this week.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And I even have like in futures as well too, like, things about being a dad, being a parent that I think I can talk about as well too, that I think there'll be wins and losses with that. There definitely has been already. So yeah, I'll bring some of those more up in future podcast episodes as well.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for listening. Please feel free to give us a like or a review or a comment on whatever platform you found us on. And if you want to send Cory or I a direct message if something you found was super relatable, give us a shout on our socials. We'll put them in the description below. Thanks again for listening in and tuning in to Build and Breathe.